What's up, my precious little pack, and welcome back to VEGA Conflict. So, before I get started with the next part of the trade video, I was talking about a few other things. I'm going to show off the fleet that I used to use. I finished the fitting. They're all set up now. We're going to go out and we're going to hit a... let's see, where are you at? Strike Hive fleet, that should do. We don't want to do Barrage Hive, we want to do Standard Hive. But when I originally went off into the Axis/Xeno tier, I didn't use high-tech ships, I didn't have high-end weapons. That's the funny thing, I didn't have high-end anything. How did I get into the tier that I'm at without using high-tech weaponry? That's actually where it turns very funny. I didn't have high-tier weaponry, I didn't have anything like that. What I did have was researchable armor, shielding, and other things accessible to me. I didn't have metaphase at the time. Alright, there's only two of you guys. Let's go to the very edge. And I will show you the fitting of this in a separate video. And all of the ships at the time I advanced into the Xeno division, they were not mark upgrades. What you see here is improvements over the standard version. And I hit 40 targets. I hit level 40 targets for multiple hours. I would hit them during the duration that they were active, and I would go after small, very specific objects. Come on, launch your fleet. Keep advancing. What I'm doing is I'm going to keep the carrier back, which is what I used to do. The moment they launch, I literally stop the fleet, and I have the four-group advance. Now, the battleships, they can cover each other. I'm not worried about them. And they'll get hit hard, because that's just what they do. Closer, should have done that. That would have helped with the repair time. Wouldn't be as efficient as building this exact same fitting on, let's say, a destroyer group or a long-range heavy cruiser fleet of a tier higher, but the objective is simply to succeed. Now, the points payout is abysmal at that tier, and the repair time I took because I failed to actually have the battleships close enough could have been easily avoided. But it has been a very long time since I hit the targets. Now, what is it that I'm going to show you? Well, the fleet fitting is actually fairly interesting because it has two separate fittings you can actually equip on it. You can use the fitting that I have, or a little bit higher damage fitting that relies on the shielding more than anything. Now, let's show you. You. Wasn't too bad. Alright, first off, carrier. It's going to be the mid-guard because it's the easiest carrier to acquire, being a blueprint carrier. You don't have to wait for the cycles in the plant strikes, sector strikes, or whatever strike you're after. It has the agility support field, making it highly ideal for rush targets. The fittings are still not complete because even the carrier would have the exact same as the others. Now let's show you the other. The first one. I didn't have high-end weapon. I didn't have end-game stuff. I didn't have overly powered anything. I used researchable everything. I didn't even have the armor at the time. I had the shielding, not the armor. So the only thing that's different is that this has armor, whereas the original one only had shielding. That stands true with even the cruisers. The cruisers had the exact fitting they have now, which is this, except for, again, they didn't have armor. All the armor slots on them were empty. They were only shield, and they actually had lower level weapons than this one. They all had level 2 and everything like that. Their sole goal was to get up close and personal with the AI and destroy them. And I originally, before I had 2 battleships rolling with the cruiser fleet, I actually had a set of extras, because I had 3 revelations at the time of production, and I had plenty, and still have plenty, of Exodus cruisers. Now, you're going to have to grind your butts off to do this, so I can't really advise you do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend the second fitting. Ditch the armor, stick with the shielding, fit as many thermal weapons as you can, remove the thruster as well as any secondary resistors or anything like that. Your objective will be to more or less do a standoff against a very specific target, the Reaper 55, because what I saw was that they lack in firepower. They hit hard, but with a proper armor fitting as well as damage balance, you're going to have to skimp out on armor for once in favor of shielding, because the shielding will protect the armor over your ship, in turn allowing you to survive longer. If you go just an armor build cruiser, you're going to lose, because they're going to be doing direct damage to your hull and they're going to destroy the ship very quickly. And you can also get a lot more shielding on a ship than you can armor for certain ships. Sometimes if you balance it though, it'll be perfect, but in this case we'll use shielding due to the weight, and then we'll use thermal beam weaponry. Now, the other fitting is actually using impulse, and you may actually remove the focus optics because it isn't necessary for the other fitting or this fitting. The objective is simply to close in on range, so if you actually lose everything but the shielding and the weapons, you should be just fine. Because they'll perform the same, it'll just take them a little bit longer to get within range. And that fitting would be very specific. It would be specifically against the Ancient Reapers, or in this case the Reaper 55s. Because the Reaper 55s, if I'm not mistaken, they each reward for defeating them 10,000 intel or 11,000 or something like that. I'll be able to see in just a second. $10,000 intel. That's something sorry, I just got caught up there for a minute. Where did the harvesters go? Where are the very, very mean and very, very cool targets at? Where did they go? We had them in strikes originally, and when the strikes became daily, that's a lie, they're not daily, they're bi-weekly. But when they did that, they removed the harvesters. We lost them over time, and we stopped getting any type of harvester. And that just kind of, it was a disappointment. That's from a while back. But we kind of lost them over time, and I always was curious where they went. Alright, now on to the trade system. This is going to be all stuff off the top of my head that I was setting up and getting everything ready. I haven't actually taken the time to type it up and set up the stats, but this is all fairly simple and straightforward so that everyone can understand. First off, how would trading resources work with the trade system? Well, unlike with how it is now for farming, where the system is 35, 35, 30, if you farm up the resources that way, you get a smaller amount of antimatter. In the trade system, when it comes to resources, everything would be treated equally. So if you're trading helium-3 for antimatter, you'd get a 1-to-1 ratio. So everything you trade, you're going to be getting back in the equivalent of what you want. Now, how would that be beneficial? How would that be bad? Well, I don't see any negatives with it that way. It's fairly simple and straightforward, so everyone can understand it. If you trade one of any of the resources, ore for antimatter, antimatter for ore, helium-3 for antimatter, or any of the combinations you can think of, they will produce and give you back the equal amount. Now, when blood amber and coins are traded for resources, this is where it got interesting, because I had to think of a way, because at my level I can get 20 blood amber per day, so that means 20 blood amber per day is the base. Well, 25 because of the login. But what would be the base amount that you could trade for? Well, I had to think about that, and I had to make sure they'd be consistent in both high tiers and low tiers, and the number I came out with is for every 1 blood amber or 2 coins, the equivalent in resource that you'd be trading for another player would be between 50,000 to 150,000. And the resources, again, they're 1-to-1 ratio, so they're all equal, so no matter which one you pick, even with blood amber, they'd all be the same. The settling point for how much you would get, though, would have to be at least 100,000 minerals for one piece of blood amber, 100,000 minerals. Because you can get 20 blood amber, 25 blood amber a day, and you'd be able to get 2.5 million. Which doesn't seem like a lot in comparison to what I can farm now and what I can produce, but I can produce small, low-tier ships for under 2 million. Farming fleets, things like that. But it would also push people to think of coining more frequently with that option if they're trying to trade resources, or focus on trading resource for resource and not resource for blood amber or coin. And the same system would be applied, because I did think about it, and coins shouldn't be excluded from the trading system. If someone wants to purchase coins and trade them to somebody else, they should get their equivalent resource or blood amber. Pardon, I've got a Revelation Cruiser stuck in my throat. But, as I was saying, they should be traded as an equal. So in the case of, if you're trading blood amber for coins, it would be a 1-to-2 ratio, or if the person wants to put it even higher rate. So, let's say someone wants 5 coins for 1 blood amber. The base would have to be a 1-to-2 ratio, so if you want 2 coins, you have to pay 1 blood amber, or 1 blood amber for 2 coins. But you could alter it, so let's say you're selling blood amber and you want coins. The base that starts off for the coins is 2, and you can crank it up to whatever you want for each individual blood amber you sell. And things like that. The other systems would be very similar, and this would also open up because we recently were able to start getting the fragments in-game, as I showed off in a separate video. But what would they do if they were allowed to be traded as well as everything else? Because the trading system should cover everything in-game, from resources to ships. Well, the fragments, those were very interesting to think about. Should it be a 1-to-1 ratio with blood amber, or a 1-to-1 ratio with something else? 1-to-1 with coin, which would make it less than blood amber, or should it be 5 blood amber per single fragment that you trade? Because that would mean that everybody would be able to, in turn, in the course of one day, get 5 fragments from somebody else, if they do their daily blood amber mission. That's about all that I thought up thus far on the resource system. It does have its ups and its downs, and it needs to be a little bit more carefully thought about, because there are certain aspects that it could be improved of for the idea. Such as, there is an entire another resource that we could talk about, but we won't, and that is actually intel. During events, should we be allowed to trade intel for that event, so we sell intel and things like that? I'll touch on it a bit in this video, but then I'll make a video tomorrow specifically for it. And I know this video is late, but I was actually waiting for comments on the last video for everybody, and I've waited long enough, missed the entire day for the recording, but I was paying attention to what you guys were saying. And somebody else brought up a point that in the last video I made, I said that the Bastion Cruiser should be sold for 120 or 115 million. The reason I did that was because you could change the base price. You don't have to sell it for that. I know that it takes 127 million helium-3 and antimatter just to produce the blank hull. The point of that was simply to give a base point so you couldn't give it away for free, because you get to choose the price of it. So you could sell it for 250 million and make a roughly 33 or a 35, no, actually it'd be about a 68% increase of the production cost to what you'd get back. But this also would bring up another point, the importance of time tokens, which are another thing that should be traded in the resource part. So, as for time tokens, well, we already know what their base price would be. They would be the exact same that they are in the store, which for a 4-hour is 35 blood amber. So the base price for being able to trade would be 35 blood amber, but then you could increase the price from there yourself. So let's say you save up, you've got a maxed out base, bridge and everything, you got 800 blood amber. You've saved up for 28 days roughly. And that's not counting the login rewards or anything like that. That's just doing your daily missions, just grinding them out. Actually, no. It would be about 40 days roughly. And the sole objective of that would be simply to gather it up, and then during time tokens, you just spam by the time tokens, sell them on the market for a slightly above average price. So let's say you go from 35 to 40, you make a 5 blood amber profit, but then you immediately start spending the extra blood amber on something else you want. So if you want to buy credits or anything like that. And time token, for time token, it should be equivalent based by hours. So you would be able to trade a 1 hour, a 4 hour, a 8 hour, a 12 hour, and a 1-day time token for each other. You cannot trade them for anything above or below this. You can't trade a 1 hour time token for a 12 hour. It should be a 1 hour for a 1 hour and a 12 hour for a 12 hour. But that would immediately make it so you could trade them for any time token you need. So let's say during an alliance war, you took a heavy beating, you lost your ships, but you have blood amber to spend and you have the market available to you. You need time tokens for repairs. You need your repair tokens. So what do? You hit the market up that's player run. You aim to buy the repair tokens from somebody else for a cheaper price than the intel price in the alliance war, because you have the blood amber available to you. The market would actually be very useful in many respects. And the more that I think about the idea, the more that I can see that it would be a necessity, more than just a simple feature, because it would improve the overall feel of the game whilst not changing it much. It would just make certain items more readily available to everyone as a whole, whilst also allowing coiners to have a new avenue through which to pursue the game. They could spend their money on buying things and then selling it for blood amber, because I know that right now, blood amber is the only resource they cannot buy. Now, what do I mean by that? I can literally buy all the resources right here. All of us can, including the coiners. Now, I'm not going to drop $30 just to fill 900,000. I'll wait until a decimation, the mobilization, the main event, and I'll fill my resources up that way. But that was just to point that out. Blood amber is the only truly unique resource in the game. Everyone has access to it at a steady pace, but the people that can hoard it and sell it to one another and gather more of it would have a little bit more of an advantage. Coiners would be able to literally buy up all the blood amber for themselves, which I don't know exactly what they would spend it on, because they could buy just about anything else in the game, but they may use it for something else. Or they may get better deals for the blood amber than what they would pay for the coin equivalent. So they would spend more that way. It may also encourage small coining, $5 coining. Because I've actually taken a look at all the resources and everything I said, and the entire time I was talking about coins and blood amber equivalent, I was only talking about 2 cents. That's right, 2 cents. Because the 500 coin pack is $5, which is 500 cents. You'd be able to buy your blood amber extremely easily so long as people don't jack the rate up, or if they leave it at the base amount, you'd be able to buy it very easily. You'd be able to buy 100 blood amber, which so I have right now, for 200 coins. you'd be able to do just about all of that. And it would only get better because as we would think of new ideas that need to go in the system, they could be implemented, it would improve A, the revenue of the company, as well as player satisfaction, because I myself, as well as others, do have excessive low-level holes that we just don't use. Do I have farming fleets? Yes. Do I have low-level guard fleets? No, not anymore, because I'm not a low-level. I have high-level fleets, and I use high-level fleets. I have very little need for the low-level fleets that I have. And this would be an avenue for me to pursue because I want Blood Amber because I'm currently producing Marauder fleets. They eat Blood Amber up like it's nothing. Just to buy the weaponry for them, to fit them, and everything like that. This implementation of a market system would be beneficial to me because I could sell my low-level ships for very low amounts of Blood Amber that everyone would be able to afford, even at a low tier. But I would be able to, in turn, turn that Blood Amber during the time that the black market is open into the weapons I want for PvP, because during the Alliance War and Civil War, I'm starting to partake more and more than I do in any other event. But I'm going to go ahead and end the video here, everybody. I'm going to save a few resource talking points, such as the intel, like I said, and there's actually one other now that I think of it. I'll talk about it in another video with the intel in a little bit more in-depth, as well as a few other things. But that was, first off, how I got here, the low-level fleet's name. I was grinding them out, and had I kept the battleships closer there, as you saw, they would have been able to keep each other covered, which is their job. But what do you think of the resource ratios, the Blood Amber, the time tokens, everything like that? Let me know what you think of the trading system in that aspect. Would you use it to get resources or trade resources that you don't have for resources you do have but don't need? Feel free to let me know down below. Leave your thoughts. And as always, everybody, I'll see you later.